And I'm just dropping so people know I ain't stopping. But back when gospel was awesome, but only cause it's the gospel of truth. I'm speaking honest, cause honestly dudes is popular. But if you look through binoculars, you can see that they lacking the fruit. They lacking the truth with a backslap to the actual truth. Cause God says if you don't know.
Welcome to another devotion. Good to see you again. It has been a while, but we're getting back to devotions. It's been kind of crazy, but let's get right to it. Today we're going to be talking about being desperate. What do you think of when we hear the word desperate? I think of someone in a situation that they don't really want to be in, right? We think about being at a job that we really don't want to be at, right? Well, you know, people think that you're desperate for money. Or maybe you're in a relationship that you know you really shouldn't be in, and people think, well, you're desperate for love, or maybe you're desperate for attention. But I want to look at Psalms 63, and we're going to talk about what God says about being desperate. Psalm 63 says this: "O God, you are my God. Earnestly I seek you. My soul thirsts for you. My flesh faints for you, as in a dry and weary land where there is no water." See, desperate is most likely used to describe the last resort or option for someone. See, we see that David is desperate for God in this situation. We know that at this time, David is literally running for his life. This is the climax of the movie for David. He is literally hiding from Saul because Saul is trying to kill him. As David is running, I picture him sitting in a corner crying out these words that we heard in Psalm 63. "Oh God, my God, earnestly I seek you." Right? We hear all these different things that David is saying, and he's basically running on empty. He's got no more in him. Physically, mentally, and emotionally, he is drained. And we see that in Psalm 63, right? He's desperate. But in the midst of all the struggle and all the running, we look in verse 3 and 4 of Psalm 63, and it says this: "So I have looked upon you in the sanctuary. Behold your power and glory." Verse 3 says, "Because your steadfast love is better than the life, my lips will praise you." 4 says, "So I will bless you as long as I live. In your name I will lift up my hands." I want to tell you that the key to living a successful life as a Christian is staying desperate for God during the good times and the bad times. See, we look at being desperate as a bad thing, but with God, it shows that He is your only option. You have nowhere else to turn. God is the only one to run to. See, it's fully committed and fully trusting in God. Every day we must get up with the understanding that we need God. I wake up every single morning and I try to do my devotions, and there's some days where I can't fit it all in. In those days when I can't get my devotion in, I feel empty. I feel like I've missed out on something in the day. And I want you to get to the point inside of your life where you feel that if you're not in the Word, if you're not connected with God, that you're missing out on what can happen inside of your life, right? David didn't have anything left in him to make it by himself. But as he was desperate for God, he became, like we see in verse 3 and 4, happy and starting to praise God. So I want to ask you this question: how do you stay happy and peaceful during the stress of life in the world around us? Develop desperation for God. I'll say it one more time. Develop desperation for God. See, it's the drive to know that you want more of Him, because you can't settle on just a sermon on Sunday or on Wednesday or hearing a little short 30-second clip online and it gets your spirit moving. It's to say that I need more of God. I'm desperate for God. I have to have more of Him, because without Him, I'm not able to move through life. And I'm asking you, have you gotten into a desperation with God? See, what is keeping you from being desperate with God? What is making you feel like you don't need God? If there's things in your life that make you feel that way, you need to remove those things from your life, because our main intent in life is to worship God and to praise God. And without that, we think that we have done it on our own. And we have to do each and everything unto God and through God. So I want to challenge you before we leave. I want you to dive in to the Word like never before. I want you to dive in to prayer with God like never before. See, because you have to be able to push yourself into the commitment with Christ. You have to be able to have a desperation to want more of Christ, because He can bring the peace, He can bring the happiness, He can bring the love and the joy, but we must turn ourselves to say the only thing that I need inside of my life is God. And until we realize that, we'll never be satisfied. We love you. We're praying for you. We're going to make it through these tough times together. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
And I'm just dropping so people know I ain't stopping. But betting gospel was awesome, but only cause it's the gospel of truth. I'm speaking honest, cause honestly dudes is popular. But if you look through binoculars, you can see that they lacking the fruit. They lacking the truth, for the backslap to the actual truth.